Hello, Guitar Smarts fans. Before you check out this podcast, I want to make you aware of a cool new place where you can interact with other Guitar Smarts listeners. It's a Facebook group called the Guitar Geek Hangout. That's where we hang out and talk about all things guitar. So, if you like the Guitar Smarts podcast, come and chat with Kieran and myself over in the Guitar Geek Hangout on Facebook. Maybe check out some pre-podcast clips and even get involved in asking and answering lots of questions from the other page dwellers. Hope to see you there.
Matthew, with great power comes great responsibility.
Yeah,
you owe it to yourself.
You're not telling me to chop my arm off, are you?
I think I might have. I think I might have just suggested that.
Greetings, welcome back to the Guitar Smarts podcast, the podcast for gigging and hobbyist guitarists all over the world. Hope you are keeping safe and well. This week, Karen and myself are talking about what to do when you're in a rut, when you feel like your guitar playing is going nowhere and practicing is hard, motivation is low. How do you break through all those barriers and come out of the other end unscathed? Obviously, we have our own answers for this, but what do you do in this situation? Come and share it with us on our social media pages and come and talk to us about it on the Guitar Geek Hangout on Facebook. Housekeeping, remember to like and subscribe to this podcast on your preferred podcast app. Why? Because you will get alerts when a new podcast is released, and that means you won't miss another show. And if you liked and subscribed because you like the show, listen to us regularly, then use the links in the description of this show to leave us a rating or a review. This is the best way to support us, and it helps us to grow. There are links in our description to our social media pages too, links to our Buy Me a Coffee page if you do feel generous. Come and see us on the social pages. We'll be happy to see you there, especially on the Guitar Geek Hangout page where you can interact with Kieran and myself. That's enough from me. Let's get to it. How you doing anyway, buddy? You having a good week?
I'm having a good week, mate. I'm having a really good week. It's flown by this week. I don't know about you, but
completely.
I don't know where it's Friday again already, but the sun is shining in the UK. What a wonderful time to be alive in the summer. Stunning, mate.
Mow the lawn at lunchtime.
do you know what? We've started a lot of the recent podcasts with conversations about you and your lawn. It's I think it's going to have to be a segment, a regular segment on the Guitar Smarts podcast. And now for a slight lawn interlude. Maybe you're going to need to put some pictures of your lawn up onto our social media. So, because Guitar Smarts listeners now have heard so much about your lawn that they just want to see it. It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
It is. Yeah. You know, it needs a little bit of TLC.
Does it? I bet it does.
This last couple of weeks, I've been so busy with other stuff. I haven't really had the chance to give it as much care and attention as I usually do. But you know, that'll be corrected this weekend.
Lovely.
So yeah.
Could do with a bit of rain. Could do with a little bit of rain just at night time while we're all sleeping. A little bit of rain just to save my water bill.
Getting the sprinkler out. Exactly.
Yeah. Anyway, welcome, listeners, to another edition of
Lawn Smarts.
Lawn Smarts. Right, let's stop talking about lawn. Week has been good, mate. I've got a gig tomorrow, which I'm really looking forward to. Had a nice surprise gig last weekend. No, sorry, it wasn't a surprise gig last weekend. That was the week before. No, I had a scheduled gig last weekend for a 50th birthday party. It was good fun.
Very nice.
Very good fun. Tomorrow is at a pub 15 minutes down the road. It's just a pleasure. It feels like cheating going to a gig so close to home.
When they're so close.
Well, last week was Swindon, so that was an hour and a half drive, which was fine. I put my music on and it was good fun. But yeah, tomorrow's 15 minutes. But I've left it a little bit late to learn some of the songs that we were going to drop in for tomorrow night's set. So yeah, I know, I haven't even followed our own advice, mate. I've got a busy evening ahead of me trying to learn those songs.
I've got the same problem. I've got a gig Sunday night down in Exeter. And I've got quite a lot of songs to learn for that one. But a lot of them aren't really guitar tunes. So a lot of it is actually me figuring out how to put guitar into stuff that didn't have guitar.
Okay.
Like there's some pop stuff in there that I guess you'd say it could be like electronic music or something like that, a bit more kind of Radio 1 type stuff. And it's not really I'm kind of listening to a lot of it thinking, I'm just going to kind of, jam along.
Little comping chords here
real
and there.
Guitar parts and that. Exactly. There's a keys player on the gig, a horn player. It should be good fun. So I'm not really worried about it. A lot of it, I'm just going to be kind of noodling, but
cool.
And then the stuff that's more guitar heavy, I already know, so I'm okay.
Okay, that's good. In the keys that you know it in already? Or?
Yeah, well, actually, the singer hasn't fully confirmed yet.
Okay.
But I don't mind.
You're a pro. You just
I can transpose quickly enough.
You're such a show off. You're just so good. You're just so good. So good. But Exeter, that's a bit of a drive.
It is a bit of a drive.
That's 2-3 hours from me.
It's about 2.5 hours from me. So not too bad. That's about the limit where I'm kind of like, maybe I'll get a hotel part way back.
Yeah, I was going to ask, are you going to stop over? Because that, for me, that would definitely be on the limit of. Yeah. An hour and a half drive last weekend back from that gig was actually quite nice. It wasn't bad at all. And we actually went on earlier and finished earlier. So I was in the car and packed up by 11:30, which is normally the time we'd be finishing our second set and still have packed down and stuff to go. So it was fine. But 2 to 3 hours, mate, that's quite a long drive to take on, at that time of night. Be safe. Be sensible.
That's the thing. Just be. It's a well-paid gig. I can afford to take some money out of the pay to go towards a hotel room, and I'm sure my family will be much more relieved to know that I'm doing things safely rather than kind of sleeping my way home.
Definitely, mate.
So I'll probably do that. I'll probably get something booked today. I think I can get a travel lodge for about 50 quid. Somewhere nearby along the way.
There you go. Or an Airbnb or a little bed and breakfast. Or
exactly.
At worst, put an overnight bag and a sleeping bag in the boot of your car. So if you think, right, I'm too tired, just pull over into a lay-by, sleeping bag on.
Yeah. Get a few hours.
That's it. Watch out for doggers and you'll be fine.
Oh dear!
Anyone listening, not UK based, who thinks that I've just referred to people taking their dog out for a walk in the middle of the night, that's not what that is.
No, it's something else. I would say Google it, but probably not. Don't do Google it at home. Or
not safe for work. Googling.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Shall we talk about some guitars and other related stuff? Yeah, let's do that.
Oh dear. So, Kieran, I'm in a bit of a rut at the moment. I don't know if you've ever been in this situation, right? Where whenever you pick the guitar up, I just struggle to feel motivated to kind of, play something or learn something. Have you ever been in that where you just can't seem to, I'm not really motivated at the moment to kind of play, and I kind of want to figure out some good ways to, to kind of break that rut, and kind of come out of it. Have you ever been in that situation?
I've definitely been in situations where I'm not in the mood for playing and I go and do something else. Watch a film, go and read a book, whatever, go for a swim, whatever. And then I find it's been like a week or so since I picked up a guitar. There's definitely times where I'm just kind of the mood hasn't struck me to play. That definitely happens sometimes. But I think what you're describing is more potentially more serious than just not being in the mood for playing. You're talking about a rut, which tell me more about that, because that sounds a little bit more like you are in the mood for playing because you're picking up a guitar, but you're having to force yourself, or it's just not, something else is not right, or you kind of just you put down, you pick up a guitar, you try to play it, you put it down, and you go, that did nothing for me, and I didn't enjoy that, and then you go and do something else. So that's different to just having other stuff to do.
It's not just a kind of I'm not feeling motivated. I guess it's I feel like what it is it's when I'm most aware of the gap between what I can play and what I want to play. And I don't know how to make, like we talked about practice before, and we've done some various podcasts, haven't we, on practice and things we can do to improve your practice. I'm not very good at taking my own advice partly because I don't really plan playing guitar or anything like that. I tend to just go, if I don't have songs to learn or anything else to get done in my own time, then that's the only time really I've got to practice. And it gets to that time of the evening and I think, oh, what shall I play? I don't know. And then I start thinking about things that I can or I can't do. Sorry, plane taking off from Farnborough Airport. I think of things I can or I can't do, and I kind of go, well, I haven't really now got the time to do that, and I feel like I'm losing. Then I end up just kind of jamming over something, and I kind of start feeling like I've just wasted an evening that I had the chance to improve what it was I was doing, and then I start feeling like I'm stuck. Then I start feeling like, how can I change this? And so this is where I am now. I'm kind of I've spent weeks listening and feeling motivated by music that I'm hearing and thinking I'm going to practice this. I'm going to transcribe that. I'm going to learn a few things from this, and then I sit down and I don't know what to do. And I'm like, should I do this, that, or the other? What should I? And then you end up practicing or playing the same thing you can already play. And I kind of always feel a little bit like I'm wasting time. And I know this is part of a cycle, right? It's part of a bigger cycle of things that, I kind of go through on almost like a yearly or the yearly basis of kind of feeling a little bit too self-deprecating to kind of get anywhere out of it. And then at some point I'll have to learn something or do something, and I'll do it, and I'll sit down and I'll work out a way and find the time and get myself out of it. And then all of a sudden it's like just, digging yourself out of a hole. But it occurred to me that maybe some of our listeners have maybe felt the same way. And maybe some of our listeners have been stuck in ruts before. Maybe you're stuck in a rut now. Maybe you don't know how to improve your guitar playing. Maybe you've got this idea in your mind of what the next thing it is you want to learn or improve about your playing, and you're just stuck where you are, not being able to figure out how best to get there. And I thought that'd be a good thing for us to talk about this week, is some tips and tricks to kind of help people to come up with some mechanisms that they can use to kind of, make themselves feel better about where they are. That's what I'm thinking. Anyway.
Wow, man, that's deep. That's deep. There's so many layers to that. Okay.
You're right. There are layers to that, and I also think that it's a very human thing, right? It doesn't just apply to guitar playing. I think that can be anything at all. I think we go through plateaus. Life isn't a constant march to being better. It's not like a smooth upward thing. I mean, if you zoom out of the graph enough, you might see a smooth line. Yeah. But I'm talking about, the zoomed in detailed pictures of right now. And it's more like the FTSE 100 or whatever it is, going boom, boom. That's how it feels sometimes when you zoom in on those microscopic parts of your progress. You can really feel.
I think that's a nice analogy, because history has taught us that the FTSE 100 or the S&P 500 or whatever stock index you happen to watch always goes up over time. It's a long-term investment piece. If you try to look at it in isolation and try and zoom in too closely and try and chase it and predict it, unless you're like a super guru of trading, and you'll invariably just kind of make mistakes and kind of miss the bigger picture. And that's probably the thing to remind you of. I mean, you are very self-deprecating as a human being and an individual. It's why it's so nice to know you, because honestly, if I could play like you, if I could play half the stuff that you could play, I'd never get bored playing, and I'd never find myself in a rut. I would just literally revert back to my 16-year-old self who never got in a rut when playing, because every day was a learning experience, and I thought I was the greatest guitarist in the world, right? I don't think you get into a rut when you're 15 or 16, because you're just constantly learning and you've got at least if you're anything like me, had an ego. It's only as I've got older Like the more you learn, the more you realize you don't learn. And I guess that's the same, even if for somebody of your standard, right? You've studied music at a higher educational level. You've put it into practice. You have the theory as well as the chops. And yet still, you're on your own journey of frustration sometimes and feeling like you're in a rut and then you're not improving.
Sorry to interrupt this conversation. However, if you've made it this far, you should definitely subscribe to the show on your favourite podcast app. Go and do that now, then come right back. I'll wait here. Hey, welcome back.
That's the thing. We're going to have Matt Late back on the show very soon. We've had him on the show before. He was with us for Day in the Life of a Guitar Teacher episode. And he said, and we'll pick this up again with him when he comes back on next. But he said something to me a couple of years ago, which is I still remember, and it's really profound because I was discussing this exact same thing with him, feeling like, it was during lockdown. I was kind of trying to do the whole music theory thing. I'm still trying to do it and get better at that and feeling in a rut. And, he said to me, yeah, I totally get that. And I was like, you get that? Somebody that of his caliber that plays like that, that's a music teacher, that's educating others and teaching people every day. And like you get in a rut. It's like, yeah, totally. He said, but the way in his words, and I hope I'm not misrepresenting what he said to me, we'll ask him, was he said words to the effect of like that he used to feel like that a lot. And then he kind of reconciled in his head that everybody's on their own individual journey with guitar playing. And you got to try, he said to me, you got to try and stop thinking about what you haven't got and what you have got. And, not comparing yourself to others that can do stuff that you can't, even though that's human nature, or even if it's not about comparing yourself to others, but just knowing where you want to get to is like, it's a journey. Just like some days you'll move faster on that journey and some you won't. And exactly like your stock market analogy, right? If you zoom in on it, you don't see anything. But if you take a step back and look at it over a bigger period of time, the line is going beautifully in one direction. So that's a few of the things that kind of spring to mind. But I wanted to ask you a question off the back of it as well while I was listening to you, because I've seen you like super buzzed and super energized about practicing and playing in the last couple of years as well. So what has been the circumstances, or how have you got yourself into that frame of mind when you have been not in a rut? Because if you're saying you're in a rut now, I've definitely seen you in periods of time where was it just that deep dive into the world of Toto that just kind of massively inspired you and just got you like playing in a way that do you remember?
Yes, absolutely. It's always definitely for me the thing that motivates me the most and excites me the most is when I'm moved by something that I'm listening to. So much to the point where I've got to just try and play that. It sounds so cool. To be able to do it would be so awesome. And I think when you then sit down and do that, it's that kind of full circle of, inspired to do something, you sit down to do it, you do it, and it's kind of like that, it's like everything feels great to be moved and inspired, but then to actually go away and plan to do something and achieve it afterwards. It's this wonderful full circle feeling of, I can't really, it's hard to describe actually, but you know what I mean, right?
I've seen it with you. I've seen like you went through a period like last 6 months ago or something where like you were recording bits of video, you were getting into like some serious like stuff, man. I mean, I've heard you play in the past, but some of the Toto stuff, some of the Steely Dan stuff, just like some of the stuff you were recording, I was like, whoa, that Kid Charlemagne thing that you did. And I was just like, you were just like on a roll of like, whatever the opposite to being in a rut is, whatever the opposite of that is. That was, I'm just trying to understand how you got yourself into that place and how that perpetuated, because that that to me was inspiring to me, and it kind of made me start sitting down and setting myself little goals. And we chatted about it at the podcast at the time, like setting these little incremental goals and what we would achieve. And I think we both got into a nice little rhythm of that for a while. But as you say, it kind of, it's like anything. If you don't sustain it, then it.
Well, I think that's partly it. I don't think there's anything in particular that's stopped me from being in that mode of inspiration and trying to practice. I think it's inaction and, a lack of momentum and maintaining some kind of discipline over what it is you want to practice and improve on that will inevitably lead you to this. I mean, I'd say over the last few months, I've had absolutely no discipline at all in what I've been practicing. And you know what? Thinking about it now, it's probably at this point in every year where I feel like this, because summer's the busiest time for me when it comes to learning songs for gigs. Again, I don't play in a band, so I'm not regularly gigging. So when I take on depth gigs through the summer, and for me, it's only maybe 1 or 2 a month, but my lifestyle's busy enough that that's enough for me. And generally speaking, as each summer comes around, I find myself sitting down and learning those songs again. And that's not progression in my playing. Yes. I feel like I'm just turning the wheel around kind of thing. It's just, treading water. And I feel maybe that's why I'm at this point is a lack of effort put into, defining where I want to progress and working on it, because I'm not giving myself the time to do it. All the time that I've got to play guitar is learning stuff I don't really want to learn, but I have to. See, this is exactly why I didn't go down the career path of being a musician, because I never wanted to turn guitar playing into a chore. I love music and playing guitar too much to ever want to have to feel like it's a chore and it's work. I want to enjoy it and feel moved by the music all the time. And I know if I've got to learn songs for a wedding, and most of the songs I'm going to learn are stuff that I just wouldn't choose to listen to, then it's work. It's hard. It's hard work. I got so much respect for people that are full-time musicians out there on stages, taking the gigs that they can take and working for artists and people going out on tours, because for me, that would ruin playing guitar. It would ruin it. It would make me want to put it down and not pick it back up. I'm going off on a tangent there, really. But your question about, how did I get into that state of mind before? I think part of it is to do with, not having the lingering thought of a set list of songs to learn, at the back of my mind, because as long as I know I've got songs to learn, when I sit down and play guitar, I'll be thinking about that more than say, I haven't quite mastered the tapping part to Steve Lukather's solo in Pamela yet. That's something I still really want to get down. I love that guitar solo, and we joked about Toto and Pamela and stuff, and Luther and what all the time. But their music is still actually relatively new to me. For me, from my perspective.
It's a huge back catalogue, isn't it?
Huge back catalogue. I've always known Rosanna, Hold the Line, Africa, maybe a couple of others. But it's literally, I still feel like I'm kind of trying to, incorporate all this new vocabulary into my playing from stuff that I'm listening to through them and through other work those musicians have done from that era. And I'm fascinated by that whole period of time. But I just, I feel like the wall in front of me is just a little bit too high today. Do you know what I mean? That's kind of it. But when you've been in this position before, Kieran, do you have a technique that what do? Do you ride it out? Do you just something come along eventually that makes you kind of see it differently? What have you done in the past?
So I can completely relate to what you're saying, for sure. And exactly the reason behind the way you're feeling is exactly the same for me. So I think it's totally relatable. Like if we look at both you and I, the way in which we started investing the time to progress our playing or understanding of music theory or trying stuff that we had always been wanting to try during lockdown when we weren't gigging. Like that was all we had to do, right? We set this podcast up during lockdown because we weren't out gigging and playing, and we needed that kind of creative outlook and to do stuff with guitars in a different way, right? And that invariably led to us having some really great conversations that we thought other people might want to listen to our silliness. And so thank you to all of you that do now, a year and a bit later. But also we were like, okay, we supported each other in the fact that we wanted to keep getting better. So we came up with little strategies and ways and started to deconstruct what good practice is versus just picking up the guitar and noodling. None of it was particularly revolutionary, but it was the fact that we were verbalizing it, talking about it and encouraging each other and setting, what are you going to do this week? Kieran, what are you going to do this week, Matt? And then we would send each other little videos and, help each other with our progress. That all kind of gets us into that rhythm of it, not being in a rut. As soon as I start gigging again, a few things happen. One, I love playing live, and that kind of satisfies on a weekly basis that kind of internal drive to want to pick up a guitar and play it. And now, being back out gigging, you get to do it with a band, which is awesome fun, and get to do it in front of an audience. And that's great. But by the time I've kind of driven home on a Friday or Saturday night after a gig and unloaded the car, that feeling kind of keeps me going for the rest of the week until the next gig, right? I might pick up a guitar in the week, but it will probably be to set one up and have a quick play through it for either my guitars or somebody else's guitar just to make sure it's playing in the right way. It will most probably be driven by the fact that I've got to learn another song. And so sometimes it's songs that I don't really want to have to learn, but do it anyway, because that's what's going in the next gig. And so you kind of do it, but it's not the same thing as like when I sat down and invested the time to learn, the Bon Jovi solo that I'd been fearful of all my life at learning, but then set about trying to learn it. That it's a different kind of mindset and drive behind it. So the one thing that I have started doing for the last couple of gigs, because I've recognized that basically what I'm saying is I'm rubbish at practicing when I'm gigging, because during the week I'm kind of, I don't do it because I'm just thinking about the next gig and if I have to learn a song. So exactly what you said. But now I've started to get to a comfortable place with some of the songs in the set list. Now I'm starting to think about and force myself during the week to go, that bit of that song that you're still kind of blagging your way through, or it didn't sound quite right at the last gig, or there is a keys part as well in that song. And you've got the basic guitar stuff down, but how can we push it a little bit further? And how can I try and get the keys part in as well? Or the second guitar part? There's only one guitar in this band. I'm carrying the song on one guitar, but is there a way that I can bring in that second guitar part or motifs from it? And so that's what I'm kind of challenging myself to do now. So maybe for the gig that you've got coming up in Exeter, right? Maybe for there's some of those songs, well, it sounds like you've got a couple of great opportunities, right? Figure out what you're going to play in those pop songs that have got no guitar and try and make it fun for yourself. And even if you only pick one song where you go, I'm going to really figure out a way to put something cool on this that, do you remember we spoke about it a while ago? Like, what if you were called up on a studio session by somebody to come and lay down some guitar on this track? What would you play? And, just like have that little hypothetical challenge in your mind. It's like Matt, the session guitarist, gets a call to go, right, we're remixing, to know whatever it is, this Whitney Houston song, and it doesn't have any guitar on it, but we need some guitar on it. It's just like,
what would you do?
What would I play? So even if you only do that on one song, I guess that's a way to try and make it a bit more fun. And even those songs that inside out, that you've gigged 1,000 times, just like, okay, what can I do on this song to make it more interesting for me? Not necessarily correct something that you're just happy with, but just make it more interesting and more fun, I guess would be what I'm trying to do now to stop myself getting in a rut.
That's cool.
It's difficult though. It is difficult.
It is tough. And I think there's a part of me also that kind of, you see, this is going to be about as deep as I go, by the way. This is going to be about as deep as I go. because I just want to be honest about how I feel about this situation.
Sure.
Because the part of this kind of feeling troubled by being in a rut, and it's because I have this. I do worry about like hitting a ceiling of kind of like, I do worry sometimes about is this as good as I can be? Do you know what I mean? I can't, there are times where I kind of say to myself, I kind of think to myself, even physically, I'm 40 this year. That's not old by any amount, I know, but I know that there's going to come a time where it gets harder to change things physically, to improve my my left hand speed or strength in my fingers and things like that. I know I'm going to get to a point where it gets more and more difficult to make the improvements compared to how I was when I was first learning. I think about these things all the time, Kieran. I really do. This is in my mind all the time when I'm playing guitar. I keep thinking, I want to get better at playing guitar. If anything, to prove to myself that I still can.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? Because I don't. I worry about getting to a point, in my life where I can't get better at something anymore. Because what's the point in doing? In my mind, I sometimes think, yes, like Matt Lake said, it is a journey. It is your own journey. But sometimes I kind of think that the point of it is the endeavor of getting better and being able to improve and not just being able to be. Do you know what I mean? Part of honestly, that is as deep as I'll get, I promise you. But there's a big part of that that's in my mind at the moment of, I've got to prove to myself that I can get better, but I don't know where I'm struggling to do it at the moment. And I'll feel better if I can choose to do something over the next few weeks, whether it's transpose a solo or just learn a song or figure out some complex chords without looking at a tab sheet or something and try and train my ear or my hands or whatever. I can just do something and hit a target. I'll feel fine because I know I've proved to myself I'm not at that point yet where I can't, I can no longer get better. So,
can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Did you think, or did you envisage ever, that by the time you reached 40, you would be a better guitar player than you are now?
Yes.
Did you?
Yeah. I thought I'd be way better than I am now.
Huh. That's interesting. And when you kind of have that image in your head of what better is, what is it? Is it techniques? Is it the repertoire of songs?
It's definitely technique. Definitely technique. I definitely feel like there are certain aspects to how I play that should be much better than they are now.
Yeah.
And also, I think understanding and harmonic understanding. Just general. I feel like I should be able to hear and recognize things better than I can. I think just every area of being a musician, I wish I was a bit better. But maybe that's a good thing. Maybe it's good to constantly always want to reach that a little bit further. I guess just sometimes it feels out of reach.
Oh, mate.
You know what I mean?
I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think, again, this is the wonderful part of your self-deprecating, humble nature. I'm a couple of years older than you. I don't think I'll ever be. This isn't me just blowing smoke up your ass, right? I genuinely don't think in my lifetime I will ever get to where you are as a guitar player at the age of 39.
Well, that's very kind of you. Thank you.
No, genuinely speaking. How do I feel about that? Yeah, a bit. I feel all right about it. I feel okay. And would I like to be the player you are? God, yeah, of course I would. But I recognize that what that's going to take is time and effort. I personally don't think it's anything to do with the limitations that age brings about. I just watched, fans of the show will know I'm a huge fan of Slash. I just went and watched the Guns N' Roses latest tour, right? They're all in their 60s now, right? Yeah. And, whatever you think of Guns N' Roses, whether you're a fan or not, right? Axl's clearly suffering. His voice. I mean, really? Man, singing in those tones at that volume, he's still belting it, and he's still trying his hardest. You can see the effort that he is putting in. Slash, my God, the man did not drop a note, and
really?
and he plays a lot of notes. and it's the best guitar playing I've seen of him at any stage of his career.
Wow.
At any stage. And the stuff he's writing is more creative, and like, he went through ruts in his playing where from my perspective, don't know how he felt at the time. I sadly don't know him, but I would listen to albums of his from different periods of his solo career or whatever, and go, feels like I've heard it all before. It's like that was completely predictable, and it's what I would have expected him to play over that, or that's a regurgitated riff of another one I've heard him do. And then something happened in his playing in the last few years where it feels like he's springboarded into a completely different dimension. Like, he's playing stuff that I'm just like, damn, he's gone up like another level or 10 in technique. He's doing that live as well. He's pushing 60 now as well. And it kind of, anyway, why am I waxing lyrical about it? Because it reminded me of just one example of that principle about, you can continue to learn stuff if you do it hard enough, push yourself long enough to do it, stretch yourself. Yeah, certain things get older with age in the guitar playing kind of sense. My memory isn't what it used to be, man. I used to be like a walking jukebox. I'd learn a song once and then it would be there, and I could replay it at the drop of a hat. Now, I'm lucky if I can keep songs in my head from
I feel the same.
Gig to gig. It's just kind of like, oh, how did that one go again? And then it's fine. It comes back. I haven't got Alzheimer's or anything. I'm not kind of like that.
No, but you just feel like your mind's rejecting certain things, doesn't it? Like, do you know what I mean? It's like, hang on a second. I've got to put the bins out. I've got to do all this stuff. I've got to remember to do this, and this week. I've got all my work stuff. I'm sorry, I'm just rejecting Brightside. You're going to have to sit down and learn Mr. Brightside again next week. It can't go in today.
Feel like that. It's gone. It's gone again. It's gone again. Exactly. I don't know, mate. Where do I kind of net out on this? How do I reconcile this? I hoped I would be a better player than I am now at this age. And I felt I would be a better player because the improvements that I was making when I was 16 to 18, 18 to 20, 20 to 23, the increments of improvement were big. There were big jumps every couple of years. It then started to plateau out in my kind of mid-20s. 30s was pretty stagnant. Picked up again in recent years, but it's slower. And honestly, I think part of that is laziness on my part, feeling complacent and content with where I'm at, where I can go out and play with bands and play the music I want to play and get away with it. And no one's saying to me, oh, wow, you really need to work on your sweep picking, or, you're just not good enough or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, no one says that to you. People go, yeah, you can play guitar. You're great. Well done. That's amazing. How have you learned how to be a great guitarist? In your head, you're just thinking, I'm blagging all of this. I'm just blagging. I had a conversation with, do you remember I told you I played with that Rocky Okie band?
Yeah, of course. With the work thing.
Yeah, that work thing. And while I was having a chat, while we were setting up on stage and chatting to the guitarist there, lovely guy, Dan, and we were just chatting about all of this kind of stuff. And it was clear they were pro musicians and disciplined. And they're like you, right? They just play. And he was asking me about, my playing and where, all of that. And I was just like, no, I'm not a pro musician, right? I'm a weekend warrior. I said, I'm lucky enough to get up and play with bands like you or play with other pro musicians that are friends of mine. And I said, I just constantly feel like I'm blagging it. I'm getting away with this barely. And he just went, mate, we're all blagging it completely. He's like, I blag it every night. Are you kidding me? It's like, really?
Point.
And there was it was delivered with every sincerity. He wasn't just saying it to be kind. He was like, mate, this is all a blag. And, the more people that are amazing players, we all have this thing where we feel like it's imposter syndrome. Who did we speak to and told us about imposter syndrome?
It was Richard Shaw, I think.
It was Richard Shaw, wasn't it?
Formerly of Cradle of Filth. When we had him on just before Christmas last year. Because he also talked about what you were mentioning before about comparison is like the thief of joy, I think, as well, he said, which is very true, What was the other thing he said? Oh, that he said about Will Smith making the wall. It's not about the wall, it's about the bricks. And, that was a great interview. Actually, just go back, listeners, and listen to the Richard Shaw interview from the end of last year, because that was a fascinating interview from a professional and very, very dedicated musician who suffers from imposter syndrome. I think we all imposter syndrome's a thing. I feel like that sometimes. I do. I'll probably feel like that this weekend on this gig, because although I'm gigging with some friends who I've known for years on this gig, they're all pros. They're all guys who do this full time. And I don't. And I always feel out of place with people like that, even though I know that it'll go fine. And I know that they always go well. And I know I can carry my weight. I still always think, maybe somebody else should have been stood here, who deserves it more. But they chose me. They asked me to do the gig. So it's
of course they did, because you're a killer player. They're like, let's get Matt along. He blazed this in his sleep. But that's kind of not what you're saying anyway. We're kind of gone off on a tangent. You're talking about being in a rut, and we've gone on a whole philosophical debate about what it feels like to be in a rut and not be inspired and feel like we should be better. And I think it's all interlinked. I think it's all part of the same. I think it's all part of the same thing. I think being in a rut oftentimes is if you can't get yourself out of it, it's because you're feeling bad about where you're at. Or at least for me, it's like, damn it, I'm just not going to get this. There's no point trying it. I'm in a rut. I'll just learn song. I'm not going to push myself anymore. But every time I've set a little incremental goal to get better and managed to tick it off, it gets me out of a rut, because I proved to myself I can do it. I just needed to set the time aside. I just needed to focus on something that was tangible and achievable within the time that I had that week. And it makes me feel better. And if I feel better about my playing, and I feel like I'm not just wasting my time picking up and noodling a pentatonic scale over a backing track, but I'm actually pushing myself forward, then it becomes a bit more self-propagating. And then I set another little goal, and then I set another little task and another little thing. And then I find myself getting out of that rut.
Building momentum.
Building momentum. Trying to build some momentum. Build a brick. Build a brick, not a wall.
That's it. It can't, think about the brick, the next brick, not the wall. That's it. I think that's what I need to do. Is come out of this weekend, I think, get this gig out of the way, and I think I need to spend some time just defining some super achievable things that I don't need to feel anxious about whether I can or can't. There's a part of me also which is worried to try some things I can't do in case I prove to myself that I just can't do it. Do you know what I mean?
No.
Do you know what I mean?
I don't know what you mean. I don't know what you mean. There's stuff that I will try that I definitely know I can't do. And I reconciled myself a long time ago that I didn't have the desire to play like Steve Vai. It doesn't really do much for me musically anyway, but I can appreciate how cool it is. And I just don't want to be that kind of player. I honestly believe, to the standard that you've got to, with the theory grounding that you've got to, given some time and the right level of caffeine, you could play anything you wanted to, for sure. You could. Of course you could. Yeah. You absolutely could. So, for you, I wouldn't place any ceiling on what you think you can achieve. All it is for you is a matter of time that you can dedicate to it and focus, and not being distracted, and not putting too much pressure on you. But yeah, there's nothing you wouldn't be able to do, because why can others do it? How do they get there?
What's different? Do
they have an extra finger, Matt? No.
Well,
no, they don't.
Looks like that sometimes.
They don't, though, right? You're like some people are guitar players. Like I watched this video the other day. This is getting a little bit deep now as well, but I watched the video the other day of a guitar player who he was clearly like an amputee, but had managed to find a way on his right hand to be able to hold a plectrum on what was effectively an amputated below the elbow amputation. And dude was shredding on this guitar.
Really?
I'm like, man, That's someone
Yeah.
that should sit and whinge about being in a rut and feeling like they're not the player that they want to be. But they're not. They're just like going for it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Matthew, with great
That's a
power
good
comes
point.
great responsibility.
Yeah, I
you
know.
owe it to yourself.
You're not telling me to chop my arm off, are you?
I think I might have. I think I might have just suggested
mixed
that.
messages here.
I'm issuing all kinds of mixed messages, and none of them. I'm just hoping one of them will stick in some way. But I think what I might have just said is that you need some kind of disability to push you into a new direction and get you out of the rut. Don't do that.
No,
that's
right.
bad. That is bad advice.
Yeah,
That's
it is bad.
bad
I think
advice.
I know what you're saying. You're saying it's all up here.
It is in your mind,
Right.
mate.
It's about, that's somebody who has clearly not accepted that that physical disadvantage, that they have is gonna. They've decided that's not going to stop them, and I should maybe take inspiration from that and decide that the thought process of feeling a little bit like I'm in a rut. I shouldn't let that stop me from also getting better and improving my playing and looking to advance in areas that I want to advance in. I get it. I get the point you're making, and don't worry, I'm not going to go to the shed after this and get out the reciprocating stuff.
Chop a finger off and see if it makes a difference. Yeah, mate. Look, it is in your mind. It's in all of our minds. It's in all our minds. And I say this in a way that might make it sound like I've figured this out and I've reached some sort of kind of nirvana level of, as in the Buddhist kind of philosophy, not the Kurt Cobain, just for the avoidance of doubt.
Nirvana level capability.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, just for the avoidance of doubt there. Like I haven't, mate. I haven't reached any of those plateaus. I'm just in a particularly light-hearted mood today where I'm not feeling in a rut. But equally tomorrow, mate, I could get in exactly the same. When I sit down to learn these songs this afternoon, and I haven't left myself enough time, I'm quite easily get into this. Damn it! I'm in a rut. I can't do it. So it's a very fine edge. So I think that's why it's really important to support people like your band members and like fellow musicians, and recognize, like when that guy said to me, "Don't worry, mate, we're all blagging it," or when Matt Lake said to me, "We're all on our own journey." It's just everyone is, struggles with this. So I guess the first thing to do is not beat yourself up about it, really. Mm-hmm. That's the first thing, because we're all going through it.
Do you know what? Do you know what I think will get me? I think I already know in my mind what would get me out of it, and that's a jam night, probably.
Oh yes, man. You need it.
I really do need to go to a jam night. I need to just chuck a guitar in a bag, go to a jam night, and just get up and play with a few people, sing some songs, have some fun, trade some solos, and just enjoy playing music with other people, not for other people. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's something I haven't had for ages. I think I'm missing that. I'm craving that the most, and that human interaction. And because maybe the reason I'm in a rut is because my body's telling me to stop trying to progress all the time. Yeah, you've got to, not my body, sorry, my mind. My mind is telling me, hey, stop trying to progress all the time. You need some human interaction with other musicians where you can just enjoy rather than worry, and and just kind of have some fun with it. And I can hear him now. I can hear friend of the show Ollie Browning literally screaming at his music player when he listens to this, going, "Matthew Oliver, get yourself to the jam night, and I will beat this rot out of you." Yeah, I know. He's a serious guitarist as well. I mean, you see the video he put up of that Maxus solo?
Yeah, man, that's crazy.
Man. The first time I heard that solo in the track, I was like, this might be this might be one of the best guitar solos of all time that we've never heard, because it's like Mike Landau when he early in his career, and he's playing so good. And I shared it on Instagram, I think, just saying to, go and check out this solo, guitarist friends. And he comes back almost straight away, having picked up most of it, and then he posted it again recently, and he just played it so well, man. Yeah, I need to go to the jam night.
He's running the jam night while Damien's on holiday.
Oh, so fantastic!
Yeah. So I'm sure he would the jam night local to me. So he's. I haven't been.
Yeah. We need to go. We need to go, Kieran.
We say this every episode.
Yeah, we do say this every episode. We need to get down to the.
But we're out gigging at the weekend, so we don't go because we go. We're playing at the weekend anyway. So, but it's different.
Yeah.
It's different. I think that is the reason to go, to get yourself out of a rut.
So we'll get it down to a jam night. And the other thing I think that's really going to help is what you mentioned. So if you're stuck in a rut as well, and you're struggling to kind of progress, or you don't know what to do next with your playing, set yourself some very small, simple goals, simple things. Maybe try not to say to yourself, "I'm going to learn how to play For the Love of God by Steve Vai." Maybe just first thing is learn how to spell Vai, and then and then next maybe just learn the first 4 bars or something. Break it down.
That's all I ever did For the Love of God. just learn the first few bars and went, that's fine. That's enough. That's the only bit that I remember anyway.
Oh, brilliant! But breaking it down, I think, is definitely going to help. But yeah, I mean, I didn't mean for this to get such a deep conversation. I did, because I was the same as you. The weather's beautiful. I've had a fantastic morning today. We've got a lazy spa on the back garden, right? So I was in that before work this morning, because I popped to Tesco's to pick up the weekly shop first thing in the morning before work.
My goodness, you had a busy morning.
Breakfast and got in the hot tub for half an hour to start the day before our morning meetings. And it's just a brilliant day, feeling absolutely
living your
great.
best life.
Yeah,
living your best life.
And then I'm like, let's get on the podcast and just talk miserably for an hour. I didn't intend for that at all.
I'm in a rut. I'm an incredible guitar player, but I don't want to play guitar. Woe is me. Have a word with yourself, Oliver.
I do need, actually,
you literally need
to have a word with myself, don't I?
You need to have a word with yourself. You're insane, man, as a player. If I could play half the shit you could play, man, I would literally be uncontainable in the ego department. I'd just be rubbing everyone's face in it, going, look at me, I'm awesome. So it's probably good they put that skill into somebody who's a little bit more sensible and modest. If they'd have put it into me, it would have just been annoying everyone.
You would have been unbearable, wouldn't you?
I'd have used it for evil, mate. I'd have used my powers for evil. It's a good thing I've reached my ceiling. That's fine.
Oh dear.
It's good.
Oh, I feel so much better. Better already.
I'm pleased.
So there we go, listeners. Come and talk to us about this on the Guitar Geek Hangout on Facebook, because this is an important subject, and I'd love to hear from everyone on the group about what they do to get out of a rut, or what you do, generally speaking, just to kind of keep the fire burning. When you don't know what to play, you don't know what to work on next. What do you do just to kind of keep the love for guitar playing there? Not that I think that's what the problem is. It's not the love for that's going away. It's just sometimes it just feels like work, doesn't it? Rather than
and sometimes it is work, and sometimes it is. But
that's true.
The thing that always gets me out of a rut: new guitar day. Just let's go buy some stuff.
Maybe we need to go shopping. Yeah. Maybe we need to go guitar shopping. You need to buy another guitar. It's been a while. How long has it been since you last bought a guitar? Like 4 hours? Something like that?
It feels like some sort of Alcoholics Anonymous meeting. Hello, my name is, and it has been exactly 310 days since my last guitar purchase. No, it hasn't. No, I buy pedals and stuff now to satiate my need to acquire
so that's your methadone.
Exactly. It's like a little kind of little shot of the good stuff with that. Actually, having said that, so I put on the Guitar Geek hangout last week. I felt like I needed a new overdrive pedal, which is a feeling that I keep having. It doesn't go away.
No, it doesn't, does it?
It doesn't. It keeps lingering.
I can appreciate that, though. I don't think can't have too many drive pedals really, because you can, but it's like spices in the cupboard, right? Do you know what I mean? Isn't it? It's.
Yeah, it's nice to have options for sure, but to a point. Anyway, I think that's probably the title of a whole new Guitar Smarts episode, which is, should I buy another guitar overdrive pedal? And anyway, I did. You did, right? So you had the gas. You had the. I had the gas last week. Acquisition syndrome. Yeah, I got some lovely recommendations off our listening.
Danny Lee mentioned the ODR1, didn't he?
He did.
But you've already got an ODR1 kind of derivative, haven't you?
I don't know if I have. I mean, yes, I have on paper. I've got the Way Huge STO, which has gone back on the board.
Fantastic.
That's getting played tomorrow night. I'd see. This is the thing. I'd forgotten how good a pedal it was. In my head, I was thinking, I just hadn't experimented with it enough, or I don't know.
I remember listening to it online and thinking it's quite a complex overdrive sound, really, isn't it? Like it's like, but anyway, that's classic Way Huge, very detailed builder.
Yeah, it is a very nuanced pedal, and the interplay between how you use the drive knob and the tone knobs. This sounds like obvious stuff, but it's not linear on this pedal, and so the different combinations of where you put, even in fact all three of those knobs, the volume, the drive, and the tone knob, it's different to any other pedal that I've owned, whereby all of those work in a fairly linear, like additive fashion. More volume is more volume, more drive is more drive, and more tone is either, adding more treble or not. But this does something different, where it's almost like those change different EQ frequencies as well.
Right.
Each of them, rather than just behaving in a way that you expect. And so I don't think I'd spent enough time with that pedal trying to get the right tone for me, and basically whacked up the drive as high as I thought I would want it to be, and the tone where I thought it was right, and still found it not quite right. But I played with it a bit more this week, and anyway, it's a really nice pedal. It's a really nice pedal. Anyway, but that's not what I bought. I went and bought something else. I went and bought K-Line, one of the really cheap pedals available off Amazon. 24 quid, man. 24 quid. I gigged it last week. It was an absolute belter.
Really?
Of a pedal.
Fantastic.
Man. It's ranking up there in my £35 Wish.com clone pedal as like a sleeper pedal. So there's two versions that they do. There's one called the Pure Sky by K-Line, which I think you can get off Amazon for $24. And the one, what did I buy? I bought the Orange Burst, which is basically, it's a clone of the...
Is it like an SD1? Is it like a...
No. It's a clone of the Exotic BB preamp.
Oh, seriously? Wow.
Yeah, it's a direct clone of that, but for 24 quid.
It sounded good.
I don't know. I haven't tried the BB preamp, the Exotic one, but everyone on Tinternet says it's an exact clone of that. And it sounded great to me.
Yeah.
Really usable overdrive pedal.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Gigged it. It was awesome. Absolutely awesome.
That is cool. So the Exotic
buy stuff. Yeah. Well, it's a clone of that. Yeah. The Orange Burst by K-Line. Yeah. CALINE.
I might already have one of those in my Helix anyway.
Oh, there you go. You've got everything in your Helix. Yeah. You got the RUT Buster pedal.
Yeah.
You just press on that, and all of a sudden, everything's okay.
I do need to set up my Helix for the gig this weekend, actually. I want to set up a new preset with some interesting sounds. But conversation for another day. I'll tell you about that. I'll tell you about that next time.
Let's do overdrive pedals next time.
Let's do overdrive. Yeah, excellent.
Because that's a whole world. That's a whole world.
Exactly. Because it's been a while since I've owned some, but there are some that I still wish I had. And I've actually been thinking recently I might put the Helix on a board with a couple of actual overdrive pedals.
Yeah.
At some point.
That would be fun.
That would be good. That would be good because although the drive effects in the Helix are fantastic, I sometimes wish I didn't. I wish I had them on the board so I had more room for some of the more interesting things in the Helix without, using too much DSP on drives. Because some of the effects and reverbs are just absolutely stunning. But obviously with the Helix, you can't just keep adding stuff. When you run out of processing power, things start becoming unavailable on the Helix. Don't know if you knew that. So like if you're adding like a couple of stereo reverbs for a big, ambient sound, that's a lot of DSP processing power. So other things start becoming unavailable and you can't select them because it doesn't have the power. So I do sometimes wonder, it'd be cool if I had a couple of nice drives off to the side on the input side and I can just, but anyway, that's creeping back towards an analog setup. Give it a year and I'll be back to having an amp and a... No, I've said it. No, it's like it's manifested now.
Why don't you buy another Helix and daisy chain them together, and then you could use one for all your modulation effects and one for all your drives, and just have two Helixes. You'd be like some sort of modelling god.
Yeah, maybe going into a couple of Boss Katanas, maybe.
Exactly. Split them left and right. Put one Helix under your left foot, one Helix under your right foot,
and just dance upon them.
And just dance like a madman.
Matt, what preset are you using? All of them.
What's the DSP headroom on that? Infinite. Infinite now. I've strung together 10 Helixes.
Yes, oh God.
What does this Helix do? This Helix is just a tube screamer. That's all it is. It's a £500 tube screamer in modelling form.
That's it.
That's what this Helix does.
What about that Helix? It's a tuner.
It's a tuner.
That's just a tuner.
It's a tuner my guitar.
Oh dear. What a great way to end this week's podcast.
Oh, very silly.
Self-ridicule.
Right.
There we go. Anyway.
Indeed.
Dude, cracking conversation.
As
Thank
always.
you for humouring my nonsense.
Go for a word with yourself.
Yeah, go and have a word with myself. That's the conclusion. I'm going to go and do that now.
Yeah.
All right, bud.
All right. Yeah,
Have a cracking week, mate.
And you, mate. And you,
all the
always.
best. Speak soon.
Yeah. Have a great gig. See you soon, mate. Bye.
Thanks so much for listening. Great conversation again. If you like what you hear, then remember there are 59 other episodes that you can check out. Go and enjoy every one of those beauties. Anyway, best wishes. See you next time on the Guitar Smarts podcast.